Hi, this is a video remake of the Hingeless Waterfall mini album that I made, and I am going to leave that one up, but this is going to be a better quality. As you can see, I have a new camera, so I'm really happy about that, so you can see much better. So in the other video, which I had to make very quickly, I had gone through and shown the Hingeless Waterfall method. And as you can see from, if you watched that other video, it is nothing more than an oversized waterfall with gussets. And I made the Rare Oddities album with the Graphic 45 Rare Oddities paper. And so that one is up on the YouTube if you want to just see the album. I've made a lot of different albums. I've made some wedding and some baby albums using this method, and I love it. And I used my Heartfelt Creations, and I did a couple of videos on that where I did double pages. So you can put a lot of pages in these books. These books are fun because you can add so many different things to the inside covers. You can add pages, you can add waterfalls, anything you want. So I'm not big on saying I made this, she made that, because when we craft, we all make things. And one thing I do want to say is, though, this is my creation. The waterfall is not my creation. That's been around for a lot of years. As we know, making waterfalls, we all make them for our mini albums. Turning them into pages, I have not seen anyone else do it. And that's what the big controversy was over, was what the hinge system looked like. There's no hinges on here, so it goes together quick and easy. I love it. But the concept of taking the waterfall from this to pages, I truly feel, and this is my own feelings, that I'm the one who found it. That I created it. It means nothing. You can make this and you can reproduce it. You can sell it. You can do anything you want with it. But I think it's a neat idea. And if you think it's a neat idea too, don't hesitate in any of your videos to share them with me, because I'd love to see what you made. I think it's great when we create and learn from each other. So let's get started. For this set of pages, and that's another thing, you can make these any size you want. And for this album, I'm going to be using The World's Fair by Graphic 45. And I have also done a set of waterfalls that will accommodate, whoops, make sure they did. They all ended in the garbage. That happens all the time, my 3x4 cards. So the waterfall is going to accommodate the 6x4 cards that go this way. So I love this mini album. This paper, and I love the style of this mini album to use, because you can, like I said, you can customize it. So we're going to cut 6 of these pages that are 7 1/2 by 8. You're going to want 6 of those. Then you're going to want a base. That will be this piece. So you're going to ignore that measurement, because that was for a cover. The base is going to be 9 1/4 by 8. And I'm working on a written, so that you'll have a written guide, and it will be up on my blog, and you can follow it that way. And I'll also do it as a PDF, so you can print it out, and then you'll have it to follow along with. So this set of pages, like I said, was done in a hurry. So we're going to go ahead and do another set of pages. I just need to double check something. Okay, I have already prepared some of my pages. Okay, and I knew that I didn't want to have to stop the video. I'm missing a page. 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is, 6. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set the base page aside with my scoreboard. I'm going to take my remaining, I have 2 that I'm going to score with you. And we are going to score on the 7 1/2 inch side at 1/2. Oh, and let me mention one more thing. If you're not using a cardstock that's at least 110 pounds, I know Hobby Lobby will sell the 110 pound in black or white. and of course on sale it's only like $4. I use Cartabella, and the reason being, you do want something a little bit stronger for this album. So let's score it 1/2, score it 1. We're going to score it 1.5. Set that one aside. Again, on the 7.5-inch side, 1/2, 1, and 1.5. And this is an excellent album if you're a beginner. I already scored this once, so I'm just going to go over it at our 1/2, 1, and 1.5. Great beginner album, or if you want something quick. We have holidays coming up. You may want something quick that you can get together as a gift. And you can make these any size. So let's go ahead now and let's really crisp up our score lines, because we do want them to lay as flat as possible. And now you'll see you have the 3/2 inches. So using my 3/8 of an inch score tape, right here on this very first one, I'll put my score tape. And I'm going to fold this over. Now the reason I'm doing that is what's going to strengthen, give us a little extra strength just on this edge. And then, whoops, where we have folded it over on top, we will go ahead and put our score tape on backwards. Let me see something. I may have now put score, oh, no, I didn't put it backwards. Okay, so now you also get to see how I take score tape off. Actually, I can leave that there because we also will be lining our 1/2 inches. So I won't take it off. If you are new to watching my tutorials, one thing that you will notice is I do a lot of my designing right here on the videos. So you'll learn right from the beginning with me, and you'll also learn my mistakes. Hopefully you won't do my mistakes, but that's how we learn. So once again, and when it comes to using this Cartabella cardstock, I've found it really doesn't matter if I fold against or away from that raised where we have scored the bottom side, because it's so strong anyway. And like I mentioned, I already had the other 1/2 of the pages done. So we will be doing these 3. And if you are following right along, then you can stop the video and make your next 3 pages and then start again. Like I said, you're going to be really happy and excited at how fast these go together. And yes, they do hold together. I sell them. I make a lot of these. I've done a lot of other tutorials that are waterfall based, and they stay together just fine. Now, one other thing, if you are planning on really decorating, because we're going to add flaps, you can add flaps, you can add anything you want to this, just like a normal page. You can also cut your paper another 1/4 inch, and you can make your gusset if you wanted to 3/8 of an inch. It'll give you more room. So just remember that you do have a gusset that you can adjust. And maybe you're not going to be adding a lot of embellishments and you just want to take that down to 1/4 of an inch. Well, you can adjust it to your needs. Okay, let's grab our pages. There's 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I mentioned, I had pre-done these. And I'm also, as we're doing this video, I'm going to show you a few little techniques onto how I figure some of my things out. So we have our base page that we cut 8 by 9 1/4, and we know our page is the 8 inches wide. So I always turn what I'm working on towards me. It just makes it easier when lining up. And I love to use my scoreboard from ScorePal. I do sell these in my store at Country Craft Creations. It just has a little more, it's 1/8 of an inch, the score lines, and it has some really good markings, and I'll show you how I use that, especially when creating my waterfalls. So let's take our first one, and what I do is I just fold back where that score tape is. And I remove 1 inch to 2 inches of the score tape. And I've explained this before because it's easier to remove. It's easier to remove a partial piece of the page than the whole page. So you want to line this up. And you want to make sure you are good from side to side. Sort of like when you are putting your pages on hinges, because you want to make sure your pages are sitting square on your hinge. Now I take my thumb and I just follow the removal of my score tape. Then my page is down, and I am pushing quite hard. And I'm also checking to make sure I'm straight side to side. If I'm not, I'm going to move my page and then just redo a little bit of the scoring. So there's our page 1. Now after I get the first couple pages done, I will be turning my page to work on it. So just however you're comfortable. So you can see now where your hinges are. Just take your next page, remove some of your score tape, and again, whoops, line up that corner, and then line up your page. And just butt it right up to there. And as you're removing your score tape, take your thumb behind. And once again, let's make sure everything is down securely, straight side to side. And then you'll pull it this way to make it lay nice. And there we have our page number 2. So let's grab our third. Okay, right when I said let's grab page number 3, I accidentally hit my keyboard and it ruined the recording. So actually I continued on making this thinking I was recording, and I didn't. So here's what we did. I grabbed page 3 and then I just continued and put it down the same way we just did those first 2 pages. I apologize. I try to watch this. I had this happen. Ignore this. That was that extra score tape. And I'm leaving it because I will be putting paper down on my hinges. And so we'll go on to the next page. And then finally, you'll put your very last page down. So when you're done, you just need to kind of pull on your pages after you get all 6 of them on. And they will lay a lot flatter once you start matting your pages. Now, I will be adding some flaps, pockets, just like on a normal album. And if you watched my Rare Oddities, you'll see I added pockets. One thing that you'll want to decide, and we won't do this till the end because I've learned, these were my beginning ones. I learned that if you're going to put any type of a closing cover, such as I did on this one, and these were some of the ones I did and actually made pockets, it's going to grow, it's going to get fat, and I'm going to show you an example here. And you don't want to put your closure piece on till the end, and we will actually be attaching it to the inside of this last page. Now you can also, just like you may, if you're familiar with making waterfalls, you might want to take ribbon before you put this down on the cover, and you'll bring it up and tie it. You can do all kinds of different things. Now with this design, let me show you what else I've made. So I've made these, and actually there's another tutorial. So once you know how to make these pages, you're going to know how to make all of these fun albums. This is a recipe album that I made, and the tutorial it's just there on my YouTube. So you'll see that there's a lot of pockets here on the left hand side. But what I did, I turned my pages and I actually made this huge waterfall out of them, and I show you how to do it in my free tutorials. And then this is for recipe cards. So you can see how much it will start growing. And there's the gussets. But this is one example of what you can do with your own waterfall pages, so you don't have to just do regular pages. But you need room because they are going to grow. That's why we won't put the closure on till the end. And this was a smaller version. This was the first one I did, and it was getting really thick. Can you see how thick that is? But you'll see there's plenty of room with these gussets. And again, you can do these as pages. You can do these as waterfall pages and turn it to the side. So you don't have to just have your standard boring page. Now it doesn't go this way, of course, but it goes this way. And the whole idea on this one was we have kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, and then sixth grade graduation. But I just want to show you how it will lay flat because your pages get heavy. And so we'll do our closure at the very end. So if you decide that you want a closure, it'll be something we do last, unlike a normal waterfall. Okay, now for this album, for the other side, I am going to have, let's see, and that's another thing, you'll be able to choose where you want this. So I'm actually going to have my pages probably when the album opens. And so they will go right down on the chipboard this way. And then we'll have our spines. And I'm going to show you how to do that really neat side closure. So on this side, I've decided that I want just a normal waterfall, but it is going to be a bigger waterfall, because this waterfall is going to be 6 3/4. That's right, I'm going to have to get 6 3/4 and long, and then 4 3/4 wide. And the reason I'm doing them the 6 3/4, no, sorry, 6 1/4. Let me write this down for you. 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, now that is your finished, that's the finished length this way. Now you're going to cut it 4 3/4 because the finished length from top to bottom will be 4 1/4, and I did it that way so we can use the ephemera cards, and then I will mat these and I can put my ephemera card right down. And the ephemera cards are so great to get when you get your paper lines, because it really extends your graphic 45 paper lines. You can do a lot with these ephemera cards, and there's a lot of free tutorials out there on making mini albums just the size of your cards. So they're a lot of fun to play with and work with, because you also get the smaller ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, again, a base page, but we don't want it to be, you know, any longer than, of course, our cover, in fact, 1/2 inch, but I'm going to keep it this length. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing though, because actually, sorry, I'm not thinking here. It's going this way. Our waterfall is going this way. It's going a different way. Sometimes I ramble. That happens. I'm so sorry. So here's what I'm doing. This piece is 8 3/4 by 6 1/4. So it is 8 3/4 long and 6 1/4 wide. Let me show you how this one's going to work. I forgot midway, I changed it. So let's go ahead on your waterfalls. And I forgot to count these out. 4, 5, 6. I did 7 of these. Now, this is where my Score Pal board comes into play. Turn that over. And I really like my Score Pal board because of these measurements, because of the 1/8. So I'm going to start with my first one, and I'll show you how I lay them out and how I figure out how to do waterfalls. So you have a 1/2 inch where we have scored. So I know I have to leave, I have to go to the 1/2 inch to figure out my length. And I'm going to start over here at right on that end at 8 3/4. My idea here is they're going to be cascading, so they're going to be overlapping left and right, left and right. Then at the 1/2 inch mark of my scoreboard, because I want to lay these out and make sure everything's going to hit right before I put them down. Now I'm just going to move over on this side to the 8 1/4 mark, because that's 1/2 inch up. And it's going to give me an idea where to lay my waterfalls. And I usually do lay my waterfalls out like this at first, so I can see if what I'm trying to create is going to work. So now this one will sit at 1, because that's the 1/2 inch, from a 1/2 inch is 1. And then on this side, we're going to go to 8 3/4. There's our other 1/2 inch. And then my middle one actually is going to just be over here at 1 1/2. And it'll be my starting one, and it'll be like right on top, so you can see how we're going to have this cascading effect. And I thought it looked really cool. It's almost like a pyramid. And that's how I figure out when I'm doing things. I just lay them out, mostly using my Score Pal for measurements with waterfalls, because waterfalls can be tricky. But that's how I figure things out. And so that's just when I'm laying them out now. When I go ahead and put them on, I'm going to put my waterfall on just like we did here. Oh, but first, okay. So you cut your waterfall at 4 3/4, because you need it 4 3/4 long by 6 1/4 wide. Then you're going to put it over here on your 1/2 inch, and you're going to score it 1/2 inch. Fold this over, and then I apply my 3/8 of an inch score tape, because it fits perfect in my 1/2 inch without any overlap. So I already laid it out. I know that this is going to work. So my base page is 8 3/4 by 6 1/4. And I will have the written tutorial up on my blog for you very soon, and I'll put the measurements here on YouTube. So just like our pages, I'm going to lay them down and start laying them out just like I did when I did my pages. Just removing a corner, and then I'm going to work them down. And let me see if I can get my camera. Whoops. I hope I didn't mess up the recording again. I'm going to move this over here so you guys can see. My cutter is actually here on the other side of my desk. I have an L-shaped desk, and so I have this huge cutter, and it's by this company. Oh, there we go. And it cuts through chipboard like butter, and it will cut through my waterfalls. So the nice thing about it is, if I make a mistake, I can just put my whole waterfall in there, and then, because it'll handle it. But I'd rather not make mistakes. So now I'm going to turn this around so we have the waterfall on each end. So my next one going to go at this end. Remember, this is kind of an overlapping, cascading type effect. And waterfalls are fun. You can do a lot with them. You can change them up. So see, now we have, it's going to show when it opens like this. So at the very end, we will have this. Some of this. You're going to have a little center insert. So now I'm going to turn it this way. Actually, I take that back. There may not be much of a center insert. When I mean insert, I mean a little space for a picture when we lift them all up. Okay, now to the next side. So as you're putting your waterfall down, just rotate from one side to the other. And I think I have messed this up. I apologize. Let me see something. Forgot I was laying them down on top. No, it should, well, we're going to see what it's going to come out to be. Should still have that center one there, though. A little off-centered here. A little? Yes, I did. Okay, so see how off that is? So I'm actually just going to push my paper back a little. And if any of you are sewers, then you kind of know how to manipulate your fabric when you're stretching it and sewing. It takes a little more strength though, but that's what I do with my papers. Now, when you do that, and when you go to cut your pattern paper, you know, you just may have to trim it. You're going to be off just a hair, but you can manipulate your cuttings by about 1/8 of an inch, and it'll fit just fine. But that's what I do when I find that I'm off and I just can't cut it. Then I push that paper. I make it go where I want it to go. And like I said, I learned that over the years of sewing, especially when you are stretching the fabric as you're sewing. You can encourage it to go where you want. Oh, we are going to have that nice little center. See, we'll have a nice little center. So this will come down and over, and over, and over, and over, and over, and over, and there's that last one. It's more of a gatefold. Instead of when I laid it out, I forgot, when I was laying it out, it's upside down, so I didn't have the center. Like I said, you're learning right along with me. This is how I come up with things, just by playing. And I have to admit, I think I like this better anyway than the one on top. Now we can put one on top. It would be small, and we'd have to do some camouflaging of the paper, but I think I like this gatefold look. So see, you can change this This is how I came up with my pages. You don't have to do it like I just did. You can actually have your waterfall like this. That looks kind of cool too. You can just go from the other side. And see, and I think I really like this gatefold look. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and use some handles here and have it open just like a gatefold album would. So we started out with one thing, ended up with another, which I'm very happy with. And that's how I came up with doing my pages like this. And that's, you know, kind of, I think, where the confusion was, that it looked like another crafter's hinge system. A lot of people wouldn't think that you could do all this with a waterfall. Now again, we can decide, what do we want for our closure? Do we want the little handles with the, and I'll put the ties around them. You can take ribbon again and tie it. You'll just need to make sure you put it down on the back. You can just, now the one thing though, if you're going, you need to decide, because you'll need to put the ribbon down before you put this down on our chipboard, which will go like this. So it'll sit right there. Then we'll have a set of pages. I'm going to have my set of pages over here to the left. So my pages will be there. Or you can always put your pages here, going any direction you want. That's what's nice about it. And then have this one over to the left. So you have a lot of options. A lot of options. So let's make our cover. Now, because of the length, I need to move my scoreboard. And our cover, our chipboard pieces, you'll need 2 9 3/4 by 8 1/2. And then I have 3, because I'm going to show you how I make my side closure. And these measure 2 inches by the 8 1/2. Let me just double check here. Yeah. So you'll need 3 of the 2 inches by 8 1/2, 2 9 3/4 by 8 1/2. So let's get our chipboard. Now for this one, you might need more than 2 pieces of the 12 by 12. And what I do is I square it up on a ruler, and I'm using the ruler right here on my mat. And I put it at the top. Now I'm just going to make sure that I'm putting my chipboard about 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the side, and I want 1 inch at the top. So I'm going to go ahead though, I'm going to leave a little extra, and I'm just going to cut 1 inch off my goodness, I can't think, off of this paper, cardstock. For me, it just makes it a little easier to work with. Using my 3/8 of an inch, I'll go ahead and put a piece here. And I'll do the same on the other piece of cardstock. And then remove them both. I did have one lady commented when she watched the first, just the quick page tutorial I did. It had to be done to prove a point. But she mentioned that things don't have to be as hard as they look, and she's right. These things aren't hard. These things are just a matter of, I mean, there's no specific measuring. There's no, there's specific measuring. There's just no, there's no special way that you have to do it. There's so many different ways to do it. You can just use your imagination and come up with so many things. Now we are going to need, because of the length, and there's a little bit of an art to laying this out, we are going to need another piece of the 12 by 12. I'm going to cut it down to 11. So it will take 3 pieces for our cover. Okay, back in my early days, and that video, I think it might still be available. I don't know if it's on my YouTube or on my store page. I was using Tyvek. Everybody was using Tyvek. We had to use Tyvek. So I would run around, make everybody save me their used Tyvek envelopes because I didn't want to pay for Tyvek because it was another expense. And then one day, I had to rip my hinges out because I really messed up an album. And when I did, it was a lot easier than I was expecting. I thought the Tyvek was really going to make it strong. And guess what? It didn't. The hinges were ripped. And by the time I ripped the hinges, there was Tyvek there, but it wasn't enough to hold my pages because it was so flimsy. So I experimented, and that's when I started to make my albums 2 years ago without Tyvek. I mean, there's times I'm sure it's probably good to have. I sell albums. I sell about 25 albums a month. And yes, I do make that many. Sometimes I'll make 2 and 3 a week. And then orders, and I mean, they're not all big albums. There's, you know, they're small ones, but I have never had one come back that a customer was unhappy or that it tore, and so I stopped using Tyvek, and I don't use it now, and I won't, and it's just one frustration that's gone that I have to go out and try and gather for my mini album construction. Now we have to figure out our layout because we have 2 seams now in our paper that we're going to be working with, and we want to make sure that our these where we put our paper together, we don't want it to land on any important folds, which is the whole album. So I'm going to place my biggest piece right here. I hope you can see it. Let me make a mark. This is my one seam, and this is my other seam. So I'm going to place it right in the middle of the chipboard because we're going to cover the back of this, and you won't even see it. Okay, so now once that I've determined what is going to be, you know, the front, which is usually, for me, it's my left-hand side. I'm going to take this piece of chipboard and I'm going to cut just 1/8 of an inch off. There, I mean just a tiny, tiny sliver off. And the reason being, it's going to lay a lot nicer when we fold it over with our side closure. And thank you, Susan. She showed, you know, she messaged me and said, if you do this, it's going to lay down better. And she was so right. So you're going to need one of your 2 inches over here. And yes, you're going to have a good piece here, but you'll be using that. Don't worry, for tags. And then we'll need a piece here in the middle for our spine. Now here's the other piece. So we want to make sure it's, and it's going to hit far enough that it's not by an important area, which is the fold. And then we'll have another 2 inches here. So now that I've laid it out and I see that it's going to work, the placement's going to be great, we're going to start with this middle piece. And I like to have my 1/4 inch and my 1 inch for this. So I'll just push those all to the side. Now with my 1 inch score tape, I only use it on the chipboard part, and sometimes I'll use it on the inside, when I'm doing the inside cover. And I can get about 4 to 5 albums out of a roll, so I'm not using up my 3/8 or my 1/2 inch, all my other sizes. Now this is available too in my store, and I believe it's just maybe $7 a roll. I apologize. It's fairly new in. Another one of my design team members uses it, and ever since I tried it, I'm hooked. But I know it's over $10 and $12 elsewhere. Okay, let's get all of our backings removed. If you are using a wet adhesive, remember to try and use it kind of sparingly. You don't want your paper to soften and then tear. Okay, so now we're just going to lay that down. Remember, you need that inch or so from top to bottom. And now we're going to move over to this side. One thing that I do in my albums, and I did have one crafter tell me she actually left, I think she said she left 3/8 of an inch. I'm using 1/4 of an inch, and that's my score tape. And I like to use it for my spacing, and it also will serve another purpose, and I'll show you as we're working on our cover. It helps to pull that paper down so it doesn't bunch up in our hinge there in the space, so your paper lays flat. So I'm going to take that backing off. Okay, now I guess I should have left it. So just on the other side, I just kind of butt them up and then move it just so I get an idea of top to bottom. And there's the space of score tape in between. And if you're new to my videos, you'll see I don't use a lot of extra tools. I do a lot of just winging it. Score tape. And if you don't have this wide score tape, don't worry. Just go ahead and use your 1/4 inch. Go around your edges. And then just put a few strips down your middle. Here, I'll leave the score tape on this time to show you. So I'm just sitting it on the other side. And what this does, when you leave this much of a space, you won't have the cracking or breaking of your chipboard or your craft paper. And it's really nice. Now, again, for you newcomers, welcome. This cardstock is the craft cardstock from Cartabella, and if you notice how gorgeous it is, it's kind of just a sandy craft color, and I love it. I was hooked on the craft cardstock from Hobby Lobby because of it is pretty strong, but it's really orange to me. It has such a orange, kind of orange brown tint, whatever. I still use it, but for, you know, albums that you want a little more classic styling to it, but you still want a little bit of that rustic. It really goes well. I made a lot of rustic wedding albums this summer with it. And the feel, it's just gorgeous. They're coming out with 20 new colors, and it will all be this nice heavy cardstock. I'll tell you what, if you're a basil lover, so far all, especially my design team, they were basil lovers and they have been converted. They won't use any other cardstock. It's available in my store, and it is, once you get used to using it, it's amazing to work with. And I like using the score tape because then I know my spacing is always consistent. I can't get, oh, there we go, hold of that. Okay, now my next step, I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Okay, guess not. Box cutter. I love my box cutter, just right out of Lowe's. There we go. And Tim Holtz ruler. And there's a black line there. What I like to do is put it up on the edge. So that's about 1 inch. And then I'm just going to cut that end off. Great for a belly band, so don't throw it away. Turn it around and we will do the same thing. Now, one thing to remember, I mean, if you don't, and it really, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. It's just something I'm OCD about. I like my cover, the front of my book, to be on my left. I don't know why. I mean, you can turn it upside down and it's not going to matter, but because I did cut this piece a little bit shorter, sometimes I'll even put an F, just to remind me this is my front as we're working on it. Now what we need to do is go ahead with our score tape. We're going to line the top and the bottom, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch for this. And I'm going to go around the top of this and the top of the chipboard, because when this overlaps, it's going to hit a different area than just the edge here. So you do want to do your tops and your bottom. This is one reason I sell score tape in my store at such reasonable prices. I don't use any other tape. On my albums, my ATG gun, I used to love it, and until my album started coming apart. About 8 months later, my brother brought me back his. I made him a family vintage one, but everywhere I used ATG, it was coming apart because that tape does break down. But if you've had good luck with it, use it, but I wouldn't use it on my book. Some videos I've noticed will show you red line tape on the inside, score tape here, and to be honest with you, red line and score tape, there's not a lot of difference. So save your money. Choose one or the other. That's how I think. And if you're not buying a whole bunch of different products, you are actually saving money. So if you're just buying score tape and no other tape, you really are saving money in the long run. So let's go ahead and go down. Everything I'm telling you, it's from my experience and how I feel. So don't take it I mean, until you try it, you know, don't take my word for it, because you have to do what's best for you. Along here, we need to do a little bit of warming our paper. So what I do is I pick it up, and I'm actually going to just push down. Okay, and I'm going to do it on the edges. Push against. Just push it down against your chipboard. See how it's starting to, you get a little bit of that score mark there. There we go. And then when you go to bend it, it'll already be a little bit firm for you. I used to go along here with my bone folder and make my score line, but I was up here at the top one day and went right through it because of the drop off. So I don't do it that way anymore. Now for my corners, you can do a couple of different things. If you already own one of those rulers, you can use that. I just take my corner, I bend it towards my chipboard, and then you'll have a nice line there. And then with my scissors, I just cut it off. Sometimes I don't even do that. I just cut it. So if you're comfortable just cutting it, or if you are just, you know, working up to that, go ahead and bend it over your chipboard. So there you go. Next step, just remove all your backing. Okay, then it's totally up to you. You have an area here that does not have any score tape. You can take maybe like a 1/8 or a 1/4 inch and just, if you feel more secure having it there on the paper, you do already have tape here. So it's not really something I always do, but I'm just going to do it for the video. Sometimes if my chipboard's been doubled, I will do this just for extra security, but it's not necessary, I don't think. So that's just, I think it's kind of personal preference. Except for now, I'll do it and I'll show you. There's really not much difference. Okay, let's start. Now we've got our big long piece here. I'm going to start somewhat in the middle. Just going to start there. What I'm doing is I'm just pushing it down over that chipboard. One thing you'll know, especially with this craft cardstock, when you pull it over that corner, you're not going to see any cracking or breaking. Bone folder, just on the inside. I'm not really going over these edges. And now we'll do the other side the same way. Especially right here where we have those seams. You might just want to push down, if your paper will allow it, to help flatten those babies out a little bit. Now before I start folding up my corners, just because I need to bend it a little bit, okay, I'm using my bone folder, pushing that right down in, and you're going to notice it should start catching on the score tape there. And another thing I do, you can take a pen that has a rounded edge, but I love my little tool here from Cricut. I like to push down, and what this does is it really gives it definition, and it helps really with bending. So when you're using a space like this, you should be able to push that over. Don't do it till your tape's down. Push it over and you don't have to worry about cracking. So I'm going to move this now. I turn it backwards to work on, facing me. I don't know why. It's just something I do. Now I'm going to just work that corner over that end of chipboard so that it looks nice. Covers the chipboard. Now let's flatten that corner down. And just push that on over. Once again, let's do the same thing. Like I said, you can use your pen. Don't push hard. You will go through it if you do. Let's see, that paper is now stuck on my score tape under there. So I'm going to fold this over very nicely. Once again, let's just push that down. And over. We will be doing the inside of our books, so I don't ever do the inside of my book just with the pattern paper because I mat it instead when I'm done, but because it also may crack, so I just mat it like I would a page. Then we have two more here where this back spine is, so we're just going to go ahead and push down so that that paper is onto our score tape. So when you're doing this, you should start to see the definition, almost like the spine of a real book. So we're going to just bend that over. Like I said, you should be able to bend it and not have to worry about it breaking. Now as we line the inside, it will get a little bit stronger. So this is my front. I knew I cut this one a little bit shorter. We have our ends. And what's going to happen now is this is going to come, and you can decide, do you want it to come over this way? And then this will open this way. But I'd like to have mine towards the back because then it gives it a nice clean finish. And it will open this way. And we'll have our basic gray big magnets there. And isn't that neat? So now we have to do our inside. So we're going to line the inside of our cover. So we know that this is, I measure a lot. You'll notice 8.5. And it hasn't changed, I know, since we made our book. So it's 8.5. And I'm going to take my cardstock. So we're going to have to cut this. And it looks like we're going to probably need, I'm going to need 2 pieces. And actually I have this piece left over that will go on the end. See, I'm just missing that much, the end, very nicely. Now you need to kind of look at this too when laying out your paper for the inside. We don't want anything to end too close to our folds here. So if we lay down our paper on each end, let's see what happens in the middle, because sometimes I'll just lay it in the middle. But again, we're too close to these edges. So we're just going to work it from that end. What I'm going to do is cut these at 8.5. Well, no, I'm going to cut them at 8 3/8 for me. You decide, because this is 8.5 and I just want that little bit of a border. So I am going to cut mine at 8 3/8 wide, 12 inches long. Okay, that's wrong. Hold on, don't cut your paper. Double check. Let me check this. Okay, now that was right. You can also have it so you have more of a border around the edge. So if you want more of a border, that's great. I'm going to have just that 1/8 of an inch or so. And I'm going to have kind of an issue, as you can see, where this is going to land right here. So I'm actually going to cut this down to 11 and 3/4. Let's see. It's still kind of close for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take another 1/4 inch off. Let's see if I like 11.5 better. That's good. What this did is it left us this 1/2 inch right here because we don't want it to land inside of that. And then we'll overlap this piece. So then we, oh, that's gonna, ooh, it might fit. So I hate to cut more paper, but let's give this a try. So for the inside, since this is so long, I'm going to use my 1 inch. And you want to have your tape go around the perimeter and then the long way. You don't want it up and down, because if it does get close to a hinge and gets stuck in there, it will be a wrinkled mess in that hinge. Kind of like your wallpaper when you try to shove it into a corner when if you've ever wallpapered. Wallpapering and sewing can teach you a lot about paper crafts. You know, that sounds silly, but if you've done them both, you'll know what I'm talking about. I want to make sure there's nothing hanging over. And the beauty of this style, we don't have to make any hinges. So I'm going to take a 1/4 inch score tape before I lay all that down. I'm just going to put score tape on both sides of those joint areas where they meet. Okay, no, these will need to come off. And then just line your paper up top and bottom. Ooh, watch that mouse. There. Now, once again, we have to find where it folds, and you should be able to see it. And then with my rounded edge, one thing, you don't want to push hard again. This will become a little tougher to fold, but see how it really defines that? Now you've gotten to where you can't lay it flat like we did before because it's stuck inside that score tape. And see how that score tape grabbed it and is holding it down just beautifully. And then there's the score tape on each side. and it just holds it gorgeous. It gives a nice shape to the book. Okay, let's move on to this side. I'm going to make sure where we're ending, and it looks good, of course. Square that off. Kind of raggedy there. And then once again, remember, don't take your score tape this way, especially when you're going over jointed areas where we have those spaces. Don't forget to remove the backing to your score tape. And if you're using a wet adhesive, to be honest with you, I'd skip this step. I wouldn't even worry about it. Okay, let's match our papers together, and I'm overlapping on this left-hand side by about 1 inch. I'm just going to take my bone folder on the edges for now, because I don't want to accidentally stab into one of my jointed areas. So right here you can see where your bends are going to be. So let's go ahead and get them started. There we go. And I'm going to use my tool here. Cool. It's coming together nicely. Now we need to, looks like I will be able to use my scrap piece, so I'm really happy about that. So if you have any scraps laying around, this will be great. You won't have to cut another piece of your 12 by 12. And I just need to cut my length down. Double check. No, they're good. So I'll go ahead and apply the score tape. I'm going to do it the exact same way, even though as if it was, you know, the long piece. And then just across that middle. That away now. I love how sticky this is. You know your book will stay together. Okay, we've got some overhang. So with score tape, if it's hanging over, just push it over. Don't try and cut it once you've taken that backing off, because trust me, it will be stuck to your scissors. Match it top to bottom. Go around those edges. And again, we have this fold right here. Okay, now this is also, you're going to love this side closure if you've never made one. This will come up over like this. Look what a nice rectangle that makes. And then your fun little cover on the end that will have the magnetic opening and closing. So let me just grab my magnets, and when I come back, we'll put our magnets on and get our pages added to the inside cover. So if you're going to use ribbon or anything else, you might want to grab that if you're going to tie your, smaller waterfall together. Okay, to put our pages down, well, actually, I'm going to be changing the orientation of mine because I went ahead and I wanted to get my paper down. I made a boo-boo, so my pages are now going to have to go over on the right-hand side, but that's okay. What happened is I cut my paper, and then I didn't put it, actually, the score tape just adhered, and I didn't get it close enough here, so I laid down another piece and brought it closer. So in order to hide my mistake, I will just put my set of pages over on the right hand side. So that brings us to this part. Before you put your pages down, you are going to want to go ahead and mat these two sides. You'll need to mat them because once you get your page down, you can't. Now if you want it to be cardstock behind there, just the lining, that's okay. Totally up to you. Now I decided on the waterfall that I did want the tie, and I'm using, like I said, the Graphic 45 World's Fair, and I wanted to add that gold. I want to add some gold in there, so I went ahead and measured around, tied it, so that will be down, and I'm going to start with this one. So it's my waterfall and it will go down here, turning it over. Need to make sure we're even. And I'm just going to take a piece of score tape just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around the edges, right on top of the ribbon if that's what you've chosen to use. Now, you're going to need some pieces in the middle. You don't want this to come loose off the page. Middle. And you can go ahead and measure or mark where you want your waterfall. I don't do that usually. Decide, are you going to put it in the center of your page? Do you want this to be more at the top? And then you can put some little journaling squares. Do you want it at the bottom, or do you want it just in the middle? Which I just want mine in the middle. Again, I'm lining it up here and using my grid, sort of. It just helps me keep things straight. And my fingers back behind. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm looking top to bottom to see if it looks good. Keeping my fingers underneath there so it doesn't stick down till I'm ready. I am going to center it. Then down it goes. So now I'm going to open my waterfall. And we are going to stick it down there. And then with my rounded Cricut tool, go over those gusset areas where we already taped our waterfall together. Help push that down. Okay. Make sure if you're using ribbon that you do leave a lot, you know, quite a bit of extra, because once we mat this, it will be fatter. And this one is a wired ribbon, so. And that's when I go to decorate, see, I'll be able to play with it. So now on this side will be my pages. And your pages can go this way, or they can go this way. So if you want to open and cascade down, totally up to you. And a lot of times I'll just place them down, look at them. Things are crooked, we'll straighten them up as we're decorating it. So I'm going to look at it and see what I like best. And I think I'm going to go with it opening this way. Once again, out comes score tape. And because of the size on this one, I am just going to go ahead and use my inch. And actually, you can put your score tape down on your base page before you make your pages. And it does make it just a little bit easier because of the gussets that are now in there. But I forgot. Ow. Back to that thumb. Let's fix that because I broke the nail. And for many of you who just found me, and I thank you for finding me. I know there were some circumstances as to why some of the crafters found me. Yes, I do things quite different. I don't do a lot of really measuring, nor do I worry about the neatness of the placement of my tape, you'll find out. But you know what? It doesn't change the outcome of your album. Because these are the things that nobody sees, but you want to make sure that you are using secure products so that your book stays together. Now, when it comes to this, I'm turning it over, the tape's up. Forgot to show you. You have this 1/2 inch. So even if you're going along this side, and I'm going to show you that, you want to make sure it's going to close, okay? So you need to leave about 1/8 of an inch from the paper, whichever side you're choosing. So you can even put it right up there to where it closes and then push it so it closes. Sorry, I forgot to put the paper down all the way. That drives me crazy. And because you've got to be able to close your album. And again, you can measure top to bottom, or you can just wing it. And I'm actually going to turn my book sideways. And you might see my head in there. My fingers are underneath my pages, and I'm not going to let them go until I'm happy with the placement. See, And I'm using my fingers to maneuver. Once I'm happy, I can move my fingers, push down. Those stripes are going funny because of the way I place those. And now I'm just going to, once again, go along where we attach that 1/2 inch, you know, underneath, and just push down. It's going to help adhere the back or our base page. And there we have our album. Now, as you're going along and decorating, because I'm not going to do the decorating on camera. To be honest with you, that's the hardest part for me to do on camera. And I don't do it very well. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add maybe a flap. And you know, it's the exact same way that you're going to do it just as if you were making a regular mini album. So to make a flap, you're going to cut your page too short. Nope, I didn't. Okay. You're going to cut whatever size your flap is going to be. Add that 1/2 inch. Time for our scoreboard to come back. And on the 8-inch side, you're going to do the scoring. Fold that over. Absolutely no different than a mini album. Then you're going to put your score tape. Match it up to your sides. Adhere it down, which I don't have score tape, and there you will have a flap. And you know, that's nothing, this is all your flaps are. So you'll see in my videos, I have a Christmas Carol mini album, and I show you how to construct that with tons of flaps and pages. And that's all you're doing. Wherever you want to add a flap, you measure it 1/2 inch, and then you put it down. That's all there is to it. So now we still have to add our magnets. And then here you'll just mat your inside, and we're going to have magnets. So on the, let's see, inside of my left-hand corner, because I decided I wanted it to overlap in the back, to open in the back. So that's, you need to decide, is it going to open this way, or is the overlap going to be in the front? Now, to be honest with you, I like the way it fits better in the back because of the shortness that we cut. And then we're going to use our magnets, basic grade magnets. Now, if you don't have magnets, that's okay too. You know what you can do? On the back of the bottom flap, you can add ribbon with score tape, glue, hot glue gun, whatever you want. Then, sorry, this starting. Okay, so say you're going to adhere your ribbon. It's going to close this way, and it's going to come over. Then you can tie your book shut. Okay, and one thing I like to do, I like to bring them more towards the top when I do it that way. So you can do a tie, and that way, if you don't have magnets, you're not feeling like, gosh, there's no way I'm going to close this. Yes, you are. And you're still going to be able to use that side closure. I know it's hard to see. And you will have your ribbon closure. So don't fret it if you don't have magnets. You can do that. Velcro, I wouldn't really recommend it on this because it's such a heavy, the cardstock, if you're using this. And I do sell cardstock online in my store, and it's the same wonderful quality of cardstock. So let's grab the magnets. And I really like the basic gray large. I don't use a lot of the small, to be honest with you, unless it's for smaller projects, because once you mat your page, and I do a lot of matting, so I don't use the small a lot. These are just a lot stronger. And again, they are available at countrycraftstations.com, and they're really reasonable. So, turning my book upside down, because this is the inside where it's going to come. This is the front, this is the back. So I'm going to place 3 basic gray magnets. And if you are familiar with basic gray magnets, sometimes these large ones can be a booger. They like to, the backing likes to come off, but it's still not strong enough. Go ahead with this. Put my other tape. So I just put a piece of the 3/8 or 1/2 down. Yeah, see, the backing's just going to come off, which is okay. You can use glossy accents. It works really well. I'm kind of impatient about drying time. And I'll show you, there's going to be one thing I do. So, you need to have, I just use my finger and I just come in at an angle, because you need to make sure it's down far enough that you're going to hide your magnets. Then I slide that top one off. On goes the piece of score tape. And reason being, when we fold this over, they're quite strong. They like to pull each other apart. So I put that score tape there. And do the same thing here. Now this one's going to go in the middle. Like I said, I like to use 3 magnets on my closures when I'm making a bigger album like this. Again, stick everywhere. I'm going to use my finger at the angle here just to remind myself to keep it in there. Slide it off. A little bit of score tape. And now we can remove the backs from the top magnets. Okay, I'm holding down right into this seam. I'm pushing down because now we want to bring the bottom up. Make sure we're lining it up. Turn this over. Go inside. Sorry, go inside. And then just slide them apart to be, oh, see, everything stayed down beautiful. They're all there. Then I close my album. I have a nice, secure, extremely secure closure. And then the beauty of this is it's a canvas. You have the whole front of this book and the back that you get to decorate, and really, you can do a lot with. It really gives you a lot more room. You don't have flaps, you don't have ribbon. Now, you could still bring ribbon around if you want to use it for decorative purposes. You can definitely bring your ribbon background here and make some really pretty big bows. Now, one thing, remember, when you get to this back page, if you decide that you want, and you have plenty of scraps, if you decide that you want to have a band that comes around to close this, what you'll do is you're going to decorate all your pages except for the back one. Once you get them decorated, once you get them all your embellishments, pockets added, it's going to grow like I showed you. So you're going to want to make sure you score it. Score this right at the end of where this ends, and then make at least a 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch of a gusset. So when it comes up, so I'm just going to hand fold this. Measurements won't be perfect, but to give you the idea. So I would have scored, so they'll be more perfect, but you'll have a nice gusset. Then you will put score tape all on this back. Line it up with that first score mark right there at the end of that paper, because then you'll mat on top, and then you can put your big magnet here and a magnet here, and then you'll have a band that will keep this closed. And I probably will be doing that. I'll do that at the end. Like I said, I'll wait until I see how big my album has gotten. And that comes from the experience of making these, because they grow. So I like to do that last. Another fun thing that I like to do is when I make these bands, and I showed you on the bigger ones. Oh yeah, you can actually do it the full page if you want, and that will give you more room. I like to make this envelope shape. So what I do is I just take my band, whatever I'm using, I grab those corners, bring them in till they meet. Sometimes you can get that point going. Sometimes it likes to square off, and I think that's okay if it squares off. And then when you lay it down, so you have that nice pointy, gives it a different look. Then I put score tape underneath each one of these flaps, and I put my magnet right on top of there. And then I do the same thing when I go to mat it. I just cut my paper 1/8 of an inch, just like you're matting a regular page, and then bend your corners and lay it down, and it just adds a different look to your belly bands. So that's an idea for you to do there. So here is the book, and I'll have the written up on my blog very soon, but I will have the measurements down for you. Like I said, thank you for being patient. It's not one of my stronger points, writing the tutorials, but I am going to try because I've had so many requests. And thank you. I'm so glad that you guys found me and that you enjoyed this, what I call the Hingeless Waterfall page design. As you can see, look how quick our album went together. And there's no being frustrated over the page fitting properly on the hinges. There's no, it's a different look. It gives you a different idea of something to do. And again, you can do a lot with these. You can just add pockets. Like here, I wanted it to look like a backpack, and I added a double pocket with the tags, and I put that down. So you can add that, or you can do more of flaps like I did on this one. And this tutorial's up. Just look for it. It's Times Nauvoo. I use the Times Nauvoo paper. There is a paper kit available at my store that has the printouts for you. And so you can have it with more pockets. Oh, and the recipe cards are also in my in the paper kit. And Times Nauvoo was a paper line that they just reintroduced. Flaps. So you can have so much fun with these albums because you have a nice flat surface. You get to use both sides. You don't have to worry about hinges. And please leave your comments and let me know if you liked this. And if there's anything I can do to help you. I also am on Facebook all the time. We have a page called Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. And it's on Facebook. We get together and I do crops online so that you can stay home and enjoy cropping, and we're all online. We comment, we do games, we win prizes, and it's a lot of fun. We're going to be having a holiday one, so come and see us on Facebook at Country Craft Creations, or Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. And also, I'm there. You just message me and I can help you if you're having any trouble with these tutorials at all. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you back with my finished album. And I'd love to see your finished albums.